All right, so today we're really just getting started, and we need to figure out exactly what it is we want to do with this car. We have a rough plan. Kurt kind of gave us an idea of what he wants it to look like. We have some things that we know we're going to be doing. Disc brakes. We're going to put a trick suspension on here. But there's still a lot of other little things that we need to figure out. We also want to talk about how to plan and how to stay organized. It's really easy to get started on something like this and then just get lost in all the little things that need to be done. Worse is you start ordering stuff and you forgot what you ordered, who you ordered from. What we've got today is we're going to do our walk around, show you some of the highlights of some of the things that we found. And also I have a binder that I'm going to be keeping just for this car that's going to have everything we need listed. As I think of stuff, I have a notes page. I can just add a note to it, and then I can come back later and do my research, figure out who I'm buying it from. So let's just get started. Just a reminder, this is a 1965 Volkswagen Beetle. This has been Kurt's longtime friend. He's had it for like 20 years, and we're just going to go through and do a refresh on it. We're going to give it a facelift, color change, the whole deal. The car does run and drive, but there's a lot of issues. It's an older restoration. Kurt mentioned that there's a lot of things he didn't quite know what he was doing when he first did it, and so there's a lot of corrections that need to be made. So what I've done here over the last couple of days is I've just kind of been poking around at the car, looking at areas that need attention, things that we want to replace, things that maybe we'll just refurbish. So what I've got now is I've gone through and I've just made a list of all the things here that I know I'm going to need to look up to change. So let's just do a quick walk around here, and again I'm going to show you some of the highlights of things that I know need to be fixed, and then we'll also go in a little more detail on some of the customizations we're going to be doing here. Starting up front under the hood. Things all in all look okay. The wiring we're not going to worry about. That's all being replaced. We're going to get some an aftermarket kit that's got blade fuses. It'll have the flashers built into it, and it really should help clean everything up and make it a lot more serviceable. We're just going to ditch all of the original Volkswagen stuff. Where we're probably going to spend most of our time up here is actually in this front clip area. When Kurt bought this car, when he pulled it out of the farm field, he had mentioned that the front end had been kind of smashed in, and they kind of straightened things out and got it working. But things still aren't quite right. Right in here, I can see that this is wrinkled up where it got pushed in. The hood doesn't quite line up exactly the way it's supposed to. I can see that this is still bent in. So we have a lot of work to do here. We also have this spare tire well is rusted out on the bottom, and so that needs to be replaced. So I did some digging, and what I found is I can get all these pieces. That's not a big deal. And my options include I can get just the spare tire well, I can get just this front valance, but I can also get an entire front clip, which includes a portion of the inner fenders here. And I think that may be the direction we're going to go. For the moment, I just have everything listed out. Gives me some options. I won't know which direction I want to go until we start tearing it apart, but we'll figure that out. Some other things we're going to be doing up in just the front of the car as far as cosmetics go. These lights, while they're cool and they really fit the style that this car was, Kurt has decided to just go ahead and delete these. So we're going to pull those off, we're going to fill the holes in, and we're just going to smooth out the top of this fender. And what we're going to do for directionals is I've actually found some directionals that will actually fit right here where the horn grill is. They're just billet aluminum. They've got amber lenses, and we'll wire it up so it's both a parking light and a directional. So we'll have some pretty slick looking directionals down here. But then the headlights we're going to replace this standard sealed beam bulb with a with an H4 bulb, a halogen bulb. But the ones I have picked out actually have LED lights surrounding it that can also be used as an indicator. So he shouldn't have any problems with people seeing his choice in direction, both with the surround on the headlights and the directional here. We are going to put a real bumper on here, or at least as real as a Volkswagen bumper gets. We're going to put a European style bumper on here, so it's just going to be just the chrome blade. Has a nice clean look, and the parts I've got spec'd look like they're going to be really pretty trick. In talking to Kurt, he doesn't really like the Volkswagen antenna, so we've decided we're just going to go ahead and delete that. Again, I'll fill in the hole where it mounts, and then I just found a hidden antenna that's going to be mounted inside the car. So that will be going away, and then there's we're going to be adding mirrors out here that mount right in front of the chrome strip we're going to be adding, and they're just swan neck mirrors that stick out. I think they're going to fit the style of this car, the kind of the beach bug style, and really should make it look pretty nice. All right, so moving inside here, there's a lot of little things that just need to be freshened up or replaced. He does want a new steering wheel. Again, to be determined where we go with that, but you know, that's on the horizon. These seats, which are just like second gen Camaro seats, these are going away. The rest of the interior is pretty much going to be stock. You know, the seats that we're going to get will be a upgraded bucket seat, but they're going to bolt in just fine. We'll get a matching seat cover for the rear seat, but the headliner is just going to be a stock style headliner. Door panels will be a stock style, but they're going to be matched to the seats as far as the material goes. We will get new door handles. We're going to go back to the original vintage Volkswagen style door handle. But some of the trick things that you're not going to actually see will be power windows. Kurt wants power windows. We talked about it, and we think it'd be pretty slick. Is it necessary? No. Is it neat? Yes. So we're going to go that route. We are going to put a keyless entry on this, which means I have to put power locks in. And if I'm putting power locks in, it means I have to run power through the door anyway, so adding the power windows really isn't a big deal. As far as repairs go on the inside here, we do have some issues that need to be sorted. We'll start on the driver's side here. While not terrible, the floor pans are junk in this car. All right, so with the carpet and the sound deadener pulled out of the way, you can see that this is just all full of rust, and there are in fact holes right through the floor right here, and the floor is pretty soft. The heater channels, which are always a concern on these things, if I peel this carpet back, are in okay shape back in here, but right up in front there are some holes right where the vents are. We're not going to replace the heater channels. I think I can just get away with patching them. Worst case scenario, we'll buy a heater channel and we'll just cut the section out that we actually need. Everything else on the driver's side is okay. Like, so the pans, not a big deal. The whole pan will just get replaced. Now, here's the bad spot we need to fix. I'm going to go ahead and pull this carpet back a little bit. But the really bad spot is actually right here at the bottom of this hinge pillar. This is all rusted out, and if we lift on the door, you can actually see the whole bottom of the car is flexing out. So this area, I'm going to pull this carpet back, is all pretty rotten along and through here. And again, the door sags, and it's a little hard to close sometimes. So what we're going to end up doing is they do make a patch panel for this area, and we'll end up cutting this out, welding in a new patch panel, just to get this all solid and working good again. The rest of this side, the heater channel looks pretty good. There really aren't any holes. We'll see what it looks like underneath once we get the body off the pan. But I'm not too worried about what's going on here. That's about it for the inside of the car. There are a lot of little bits and pieces that we will be having to hunt down. We are going to put shoulder belts on both sides. Right now this only has a passenger side shoulder belt, but we are going to add one to the driver's side. We'll get some nice new seat belts that match, again, the rest of the interior. And as well as we're going to put seat belts in the back. So that way it's just going to be a nice looking car that's going to be safe to drive. Just like in the front of the car, we are going to be putting a Euro style bumper on here, just the standard Volkswagen chrome bumper. So these will be going away. The exhaust that we have picked out, at least currently, will actually exit on the sides, so it's no longer going to have the center dump that it has now. So what we'll end up doing is we'll just fill these holes in just to smooth all this out and just clean it up a little bit. Under the hood here, at one time I could see that this really looked pretty nice, but now it's just an old used car. The engine, we're still discussing how far we're going to go on that. Again, it runs, it drives, a little bit low on power, but I think just kind of freshening things up would probably be okay. Or we're going to go full on rebuild. So that, just stay tuned and we'll get that all figured out. This rear section right here is basically the same as the front section as far as it's been was smashed in at one time, and things don't quite line up. The deck lid doesn't quite line up around here. I can see that it doesn't match inside where the engine tin is, so there's something funky going on here. I think, like in the front, I'm just going to end up replacing this section. We'll get a new piece, slide that in place, and really just kind of clean it all up. That's to be determined. We'll see once we get the fenders off. We'll get the motor out. We'll really kind of inspect everything and see if maybe I can just get everything straightened back out. But again, it may be cheaper and faster to just replace this section than it would be for me to try to pound all this stuff out. We really want these lines to flow together. We really want the deck lid to line up. So as we get further along, we'll figure out what actually needs to be done. There's really not a lot else that's going to happen under the hood here, other than just all the little pieces. All of the rubber seals are just old, and they're starting to dry rot and fall apart. So all that's going to be replaced. This wiring, where this originally pokes out here, we're going to change that. What I'll end up doing is I'm going to try to hide all the wiring. We really want to see as little as possible, just to make things look a little slicker. I think we're going to end up doing a dual carb setup, so we're going to get rid of this guy in the center and have the dual Webers on there. And really, we just want this thing to look cool, right? It's going to be a good runner. It's going to be reliable, but at the same time, we want to add a little bit of flash. So that's what's going to be happening back in here. So not anything crazy, but really just kind of freshening things up. One thing that's still up in the air, we're still trying to figure out between me and Kurt, is what he wants to do with taillights. When he first put this car together, he really liked these old Ford style taillights. They're pretty neat. I just don't know if it's going to fit with what we're trying to do. So we're going to leave it up in the air for now, and we're just going to continue on with the rest of the work, and then we're going to discuss more and more as time goes on what direction we're going to be taking there. All right, so these wheels, these are going away. So even though we've got brand new tires on it, this is all just going to be gone. What we've decided on is we're going to go with the classic steel Volkswagen wheel with the large chrome hubcap. Wheels are going to be white to match the white that's going to be here on the body. In fact, we'll use the same paint just to make it all match. We will pick out wheels and tires later once we get all of our suspension upgraded, and then we can kind of figure out what our offsets need to be. We don't even have diameters figured out. We were thinking just a 15-inch diameter tire, but we may go to a 17. So we'll wait on that. But that's really what's going to be going on with that, is just a classic looking VW wheel. The running boards that are on the car right now are just an aluminum extrusion, pretty slick looking running board, but we don't know if that's actually going to stay on here. If we go with the wider fender, we may go with a wider running board just to match that. As well as, I don't know if the style of this running board is going to match the new style of the vehicle. So we'll pull these off, we'll set them aside, and we'll decide later what path we're actually going to take on that. So that's all the little things that have yet to be figured out, but in time those answers will come. All right, so here's my binder that I'm using to keep things organized. We've got this, again, this is just my handwritten list of all the things that I found as I was going through the car. So these are all items I will need to determine whether or not I'm going to replace or rebuild. A lot of this stuff just needs to really be tracked down and see what's out there. I do have a paint sample book. I think we've decided we're going to go with Eastwood products, and we've got some ideas on what colors we're going to be using. But this just kind of gave us an idea of what's available. Now, going through this, I do have this first page gives me an idea of the total expenditures. Again, helps with budgeting and knowing where we're spending our money. But I've got it broken down into different sections. Like I've got the audio section here, so I've got my receivers picked out. Well, at least I have an estimate for the cost of a receiver. Same thing with the speakers and all of that. So this is all in one location. So as I decide to start buying stuff, I know exactly what I'm going to be going for. Body work. Here I've got a list of all the items I think I'm going to need. Floor pans are already on here. The rear fenders are on here, as well as little things, like the gasket that seals the body to the pan, and door seals and window seals, and all that stuff is listed on this page with part numbers and suppliers already picked out. And that just happens for every section I've got going here. So I've got my engine section here, I've got electrical here, and then what we'll do is, as things are ordered, I can put a check mark. Like, in fact, today I already ordered the wire harness, so I can come over here and I can put a check mark where the wire harness is, so I know that that's been ordered. I'll just update the price that I actually paid, and what order that was on, and vendor and all that. So that's how this system is working here. So I really can keep track of everything that I found needs to be replaced, and I can keep track of everything I need to order. And then once parts are ordered, I can keep track of what I have ordered. And then we'll have again a running total on the computer here. So as I add things, it's going to be changing my totals here, as well as where my budget is, so I can keep track of everything that's going on. So that kind of gives you a basic idea of what we've done to, in this planning phase, figuring out all the little bits and pieces we need, and more importantly, keeping a record of all the parts that we need and we're going to be ordering. When I get finished with this car, I should be able to go to my order list here, and I will have all of the part numbers for the pieces that were used, and I'm going to actually hand that to Kurt. I'm going to put together like a user's manual, and it's going to have a list of all the parts that were used, all the parts that were changed from stock. So if he ever has to change anything in the future, he can go right to his book and have the part number that was used at that time, as well as a cross-reference to what it's from. One thing you got to be careful on when you're doing, especially anything that's going to have custom work like this, is you don't want to have all this cool stuff done and everything looking really neat, and then in a few years down the road, when inevitably this aftermarket stuff starts to fail, you don't know what was actually used. and then you have to start the whole research process over to figure out what the replacement part needs to be. By having that all listed, anybody should be able to work on this car and know exactly what they need to order. I do that with all of my vehicles. I've got a list of every part that I've ever ordered, so if I do need to replace something, I can go right to my binder and find that item. And if it's no longer available, which happens in the aftermarket, at least I'll know what to look for as far as replacements go. That's kind of where we are right now, just in the planning phase. We've got a lot of parts we've already started ordering. Like I said, all of the electrical that I think I'm going to need has been ordered. That should be arriving in the next few weeks. Tonight I'm going to be actually ordering the suspension kit. We want to get that on the way. That's built to order, so it's going to be a couple of weeks before that actually gets here. And in the meantime, while we're waiting on parts, really we're going to start tearing things down. We're going to get the carpet out of it. We're going to start the disassembly phase, at least making sure that all rusted bolts are broken loose and things can be disassembled. So that's kind of our thinking process here and how we're going through. This list is going to be ever changing. We're always going to be modifying it, adding to it, in some cases deleting if we decide we don't need something. So that's what we've got.